Super excited to be here today and to welcome this incredible panel. And I wanted to start by thanking everyone for coming. We're going to get everyone a recording of this so that they have it, so they can get all this information from this incredible panel. And just at the top, wanted to thank our sponsor, Westcott. And we're going to come back at the end and we're going to have a giveaway, which we'll probably do through email as well, because we really want everyone to be able to appreciate that. Karen, in the interest of time, I am just going to throw it over to you to say, I want you all to get started. I'm going to duck out and send email to everyone so they can come and watch us on YouTube. And we will go from there. And again, thank you all for being flexible with us. And we'll make sure this recording is available to everyone. Thank you. Karen.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much for this fabulous organization, ASMP. One of the things that I wish that I was told about after I graduated with my photography degree was about joining amazing photo organizations, because they're a place where you can meet other fellow photographers. They always have tons and tons of resources for artists and to help you out in any stage of your career, and with whether if it's with estimates or legal or copyright. That's one of the benefits, and being in a community of people doing the thing that we all love, which is photography. So thank you again for ASMP for having me and having these fabulous people on this panel. My name is Karen, aka the Black Visual Queen. Earlier this year, my book, The Photo Hustle, came out just as a resource I wanted to give to photographers to get a real understanding about the business from kind of the perspective from the hiring side. And why I am so excited for this panel is the lovely people here who are have done so much in their fabulous careers, like the years and the knowledge. And what I tell photographers is always network and just get and meet different people to get different perspectives. Now, I am going to hand it to them to introduce themselves, because again, I couldn't do it justice, but so glad y'all are here. And I am going to start with the wonderful, fabulous Jennifer. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Perlmutter. I think a lot of people know me as JP, and that's okay as well. I have been a rep and producer for 18 years. I'm currently at Apostrophe Reps, where we have a wonderful roster of photographers and directors. But I have been on all sides of bringing on emerging photographers, which has been something that's near and dear to my heart, working with established artists and making sure that people can stay relevant in their careers, and even partnering with brands to make sure they're getting the right people hired for the right jobs. So I'm excited to share whatever it is I have in my head.
Thank you so much. And now to the awesome Hanifa, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hanifa Harris. I love, love, love photography. I fell in love with it when I was very young, and it changed my life. I would have never guessed that I would have been working in this industry for over 20 years, but here we are. I've worked in editorial, I've worked brand side and agency side. Most recently was the creative director head of brand imagery at Verizon, and I also teach. So I'm very happy to be here and in community with everyone.
Thank you so much. And now I just feel like the final boss. Like when I got into this industry, there was very few people of color. And when I discovered Tracy, I was like, all right, she is doing what I want to do. She's everywhere. Please introduce yourself. Oh, mute, you're on mute. It's okay. This is not the first technical difficulties for today.
Not the first one. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Woods. I am currently the director of photography for The Loop. And The Loop is a global production platform and also a community of photographers and I should say female and non-binary photographers, video creatives, basically anyone involved in the photo and video production process can be a member of our community, but we really the goal of our community is to bring work to this population, but also be in community where people can support one another. They can ask us questions, they ask each other questions. And before that, I was in editorial for a long time. I worked a long time with Essence Magazine and some other publications. So I've been on all sides. I started as a studio manager. I've been in this business for over 20 years. So I kind of know all sides of the business. So I hope to, as Jennifer said, whatever knowledge I have in my head, I can like give that to you.
Thank you. And lastly, but not least, I mean, I feel like one of the goats. I feel like she doesn't give herself enough credit. She is like literally been in this industry for eternity, and she is still doing awesome and amazing things. Anna, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Karen. Okay, I'm Anna. Okay, I'm Anna Alexander, and I'm a photo director and a creative producer, most recently with Wired, and I've been at Dwell. I've only experienced in editorial, but I have like 20 billion years worth of experience in my brain. I'm ready to share whatever you want. Kind of.
All right, we're gonna get started because we got we gotta get this going. And so I kind of want to start with the foundation, kind of like what I think a lot of photographers come in and ask, like kind of all of us all the time, and this has to do with portfolio and websites. So I want to start off with the first question is, what do you really look for, or like what do you really look for in a photographer portfolio? And I'm gonna start with Anna.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now it's alphabetical. I see how you are. Okay, so
Switch it up.
I look for originality, which means like anything that could start a trend, you know, and it's okay for me to have all different kinds of variety, right? As long as you have a style that you are comfortable with, and don't make one of us change your style. We are hiring you for your style. So you can tell when you look at someone's art, whether it's still life, portrait, whatever, it's, you know, it looks the same. So original, yeah, sustainability.
Jennifer?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in. I agree. I'm looking for something that makes me stop scrolling at this point in time because the landscape is so inundated with new imagery. But I'm certainly looking for a visual signature of some sort, a thread that takes me through your portfolio. I have evolved my idea that it doesn't have to be one thing. I look at portfolios now where photographers do a number of things. I mean, we're masters of light. That is what you play with. So I don't mind seeing that breadth of work, but I'd like to see a concentrated amount in each section so I know what you really love to do or what sings for you.
Tracy?
I agree with both Anna and JP. I look for consistency, and not like consistency in like that everything's the same, but there's that common thread that Anna had mentioned, that even if you shoot food, still life, like I know photographers who shoot many different subject matter, but it looks like one voice. So I want the consistency of that voice, but also they have clarity of vision. Like they can, whoever the photographer is, like I can look at the work and say that's so and so's work, even though it may be food, it may be still life. It just has that kind of commonality in how they light, how their style, direction, it all kind of should flow together.
Anissa?
I agree with what everyone is saying. I think when I'm looking, I'm really looking for people that are incredibly passionate about things that I'm hiring for. So it's a little bit more specific. I think the brand, a photographer as a brand is really important. So photographers should be thinking about that. And I think that's what everyone is saying. Like you have to have that visual consistency and be able to have your work be very consistent but specific. But for me, like what really, really stands out is when people are showing what they're really excited and passionate about, because then we can start to build and really break down like what we want to be creating together. And then we can sell that in. But I do think having like a proof point is really important to sell in the work, especially for really big budget projects. Because that's what like, that's what I will use as evidence for like a VP or CMO, the CEO sometimes. Like that's the stuff that I can bring in and say like, this person can do all of this stuff. But it is really important for photographers to think of themselves as a brand. So, consistent lighting, consistent color, all that stuff.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from everyone is like, okay, I want to like you want to have that unique visual like kind of voice, consistency, and that passion. The number one like thing that I feel like if y'all have been part of portfolio reviews, is the website. Okay. And I would like to know what your personal do's and don'ts for photographers for a website. And I'm going to start with Tracy.
I want a website that's easy to navigate. You don't need a lot of bells and whistles. I want something that I personally love to look at an overview of images. So I like thumbnails because if I'm looking for a particular, a photographer for a particular project, I'm kind of looking quickly and then making mental notes. So I love thumbnail views, and then I can go in larger if I need to. My pet peeve is not having an email address on your website. Like, I don't want a form. If you're an editorial photographer, a phone number is even better because sometimes you're working with publications that are on super tight deadlines and they need to get a hold of you quickly. But my blood boils when I go to a website and there's just a form, and then they say, oh, we'll get back to you in like, a million years. It's just, if you're a business, so you should have some type of like web presence and a website or an email address.
JP?
My pet peeve, let's stick on pet peeves. I like to see concise portfolios, 25, 30 images. I don't like the endless scroll where I am seeing 200 images in a gallery. It just tells me that you cannot edit your own work. And a lot of times for photographers, that's because they're too close to a specific image or, specific subject, that they're seeing it from such a subjective view, where I'm looking at the, objective of, I want your best imagery up front. And then we can have all this other imagery into other galleries or on the back end that we can use in treatments if we need it. But keep your galleries cohesive, concise. Don't overdo it.
Anna?
Words. That's like I know it's horrible, but like artist statements or like, because we don't, there's never time to read. I want to read all about your art, but it's all visual. So just like Tracy said, thumbnails.
Hanifa?
So JP, I disagree with you just a little bit.
Okay. Okay, what hot take we got?
Because as you were saying because I do agree that like an overview page should be consistent, but when I'm looking at work with photographers and working on their website, I say to add in more on your overview page, because sometimes art directors and creatives and producers are only going to be looking at the overview page because they don't have that much time and they want to build a case, and we need to pull images. So I'm like, just put a little bit more in there so we can pull more. But I agree with you that it needs to be consistent, and the thumbnails. And in addition to that, make sure that we can drag images off of your page and it's a JPEG. because I do not want to have to screenshot 1,000 images that I just dragged from your website to then put them in a presentation to share with everybody.
We're
It
not
just adds so
stealing,
much-
not stealing. Ish.
We're
Yeah.
creating mood boards most of the time or presentation to send to people to get like their buy-in. And kind of just my 2 cents in this whole thing. No one brought up my pet peeve, no location. Because I
Oh,
need
that
to
is
know
annoying.
most of the time, I need to know where you're located just to sometimes budget. I need to work with someone local. I love that you say you work worldwide, but I sometimes don't got worldwide budget to fly you in.
And
That's
I will
okay.
say
Okay.
that is on our side of the table, coming from the rep world. We go back and forth sometimes because we don't want to be precluded from something because, or excluded from something because we are in a certain location. If
Mhm.
you are absolutely willing to work somewhere as a local, you could put that on your website as well. I work as a local in these areas
Mhm.
because I don't want to miss out on work. And there are times where if I have a photographer shooting a job in New York and there's another project in New York, I can figure out how to make
Mhm.
both work. I'm a master at maneuvering schedules. So if you say it though, you got to do it.
I agree because I was about to say it's like I know a lot of photographers that are like, "Hey, I'm local," and they say it. I'm local to New York and LA, and I have to just preface like if you're in LA and I need you in New York, depending maybe I'm not thinking I'm gonna have to pay for travel for you. Not saying
Yeah.
we may, but we're right now thinking like, hey, we're not having to pay if you're saying you're local. But that's the one thing. It's like
Mhm.
not having any type of location at all.
No, that is a big. I also don't like when they put the location, but it's just like for example, I was looking for a photographer in a specific city, a
Mhm.
smaller city in Florida, and they just put Florida. I'm like, Florida is a big state. I need to know, are you northern Florida? Are you like South Florida? I'm looking for someone in a small northern Florida town. So I'm not getting you from Miami to like Jacksonville or, wherever the place that you need to be. So, like, I like to be a little more specific.
And going off of that kind of like of just the bigger overall of like photographers just worrying about like what should I do or how like what website server or whatever I need to place, what is the best thing for me? What do you feel like there's that what do you feel like something photographers think matters to you but it really doesn't? Who would like to take that one first?
I was going to say
Yeah.
previous commissions. I mean,
Mhm.
it obviously depending on what you're looking
Mhm.
or what kind of project you're looking for, but a lot of photographers freak out that they don't have previous commissions, and you can make that stuff up. I mean, not for still life, you can shoot Chanel. I don't know if you shot for Chanel, and you're not saying you shot for. I'm just saying.
You
You
know,
shoot.
I thought long and hard about this question when I saw, we had some prep of what might be asked. And I was like, God, I thought the same thing because I think so much matters about how you show up as a photographer, as a creative collaborator. And that was the one thing that I thought is, and I've sat in rooms where people have told me, we're not going to hire them unless they have this, this, and this in their book. Like, okay, great. Okay, so how do I get that? Then I go to the other place and they'll say, we don't care about that so much. And they are the people who are willing to give you your first break. They are the people like Hanifa, who I know has looked at people from our Amplify program and other things who say, I see it. I need to sell it in, but I see it. And we're going to work on something. And even if it's small, you get your foot in that door. So I agree with you, Anna. It's like, it can matter to some people, it doesn't matter to others. And people who it doesn't matter to as you're starting out are your people. And then you'll have it in the book for the others later on.
Tracy, Hanifa?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also think photographers care a lot. Like sometimes I'll go to a site and they put their gear list and they put like all the equipment. I don't care what equipment you use. I just want to see the results. So I don't need to know all of that. It's really about just the work should speak for itself. The photos should speak for itself. Um, and your site, like as I said before with the websites, they don't need to be overly designed. Like simple is better. Obviously a nice, clean, simple design is nice. Like it doesn't, sometimes you go to these sites and it's just too much, and you usually have like 3 to 5 seconds to capture someone's um attention when you're looking at work. So you want to just do it quickly and easily.
Anifa?
I also thought about this question a lot. I think I think a lot of photographers, and especially now, I think there's a lot of pressure to look and behave and associate with certain people. And I would say, like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like, you don't need to be like, the industry is not about the cool club. It's about like really strong work ethic and work and kindness. And I think that that is what will resonate overall. So I don't care who you're hanging out with or who is on your Instagram. Um, if it's good work and if it's meaningful, then that's what's going to get you in the door.
I'm glad you brought up Instagram. So I'm throwing kind of a wild card question is, do social media matters? And this is a 2-4 question. And how do you find or discover photographers? Who would like to take that one first?
I can.
Go ahead.
Yes, social media absolutely matters. 100,
Elaborate. Like, do they have to be
100%.
on all the socials, or like how, take us behind your thinking of like when you're like, here's the campaign, here's the creative brief, and you have to go and source photographers for options.
So I love Instagram because I have discovered a lot of talent there. I've also like just built community in that space over the years, and you meet so many people that you don't expect to meet, and you're able to build genuine connection. It can also be an incredibly toxic space and can impact all of our mental health. So, manage that with caution. But it is a great space to get stuff and to see people. And I know folks who are incredibly artistic and they're very selective about what they put on their site, but I know they've got some stuff on their Instagram. So I go on their Instagram and I'm screenshotting things to sell them in. And I love that that exists and that I've seen their work, but it also makes me more familiar with their photography. So I know the breadth of their work and what exists. And even if they archive it later because it doesn't fit their new look, I know that it exists. So then sometimes I'm even like in people's DMs like, hey, remember that shot that you did that's like this? Can you send that to me? Because I need to put it in a deck to get you a job. So I will go that extra mile to convince them. I don't think you need to be on everything, but I do recommend that you get on LinkedIn because I have seen so many photographers get amazing jobs through LinkedIn.
Yep.
And I'm all about the LinkedIn life. But it also gives
Me
me a
too.
lot of social anxiety. So take it with a
Yeah.
grain of salt.
No, I know a lot of photographers are moving to LinkedIn because that's where that's where the marketing directors are. That's where the creative directors are listing their work. Not everyone is using Instagram like they used to. I still think Instagram is important to have. And like Hanifa said, I've looked for photographers through Instagram. Sometimes I'm looking for a photographer. In a very specific region of the country that there's not a lot of commercial photographers, or there's not a lot of like people, they're not like putting themselves out there. Like they may be part of like their local ASMP group or another organization. So, I look through those organizations for photographers. I look at Instagram. I'll look at like, oh, I know a photographer in this area. Let me see who he follows. And then I'll look through photographers that way. I look at a regional magazine, and I'll go to their website or their Instagram page and see if they tag people. There's so many different ways now that you can find photographers. I'm also in a couple of photo production groups where I ask my community, like, do you know a photographer in this area, and you'll get people responding back with recommendations. So I kind of look at everything.
I'll chime in with another place as well, because we've had success getting projects through Pinterest, specifically for our fashion, food and beverage, and hospitality travel. That is an area that we have gotten some traction there. As for Instagram, I do think it's important to be on there, but to follow up on what Hanifa said about the mental health portion of that, I think you need to find a way to make that platform work for you and be authentic to what you want to do on that platform. If you're not comfortable sharing anything personal, don't. If you want to share your BTS and have people get to know you, do that. I have a photographer who had a real love-hate relationship with it until he figured out how he could use it that he enjoyed. And he started making funny videos with his son in between posting his campaign work, and people really enjoyed it. He even started posting interviews that he was doing with talent he was hiring and talking about the casting process, and letting them lead those conversations so other people could kind of see how it works behind the scenes with him. So I think just finding what works for you and doesn't drain your energy is so important when you're going to engage with those platforms.
Anna?
No, I'm addicted. Yeah. No. And Hanifa,
She's sitting there
I went to,
scrolling.
yeah, no, I went to bed like 1 last night, and I just woke up actually. No, just kidding. But yeah, I have a serious. It is a love-hate relationship, but it's mainly just FOMO, and like it's like, how'd they do that? I want to do that. I don't know.
I
Inspo.
do have a lot of people I have found, emerging photographers in particular, but I do what Tracy does. I go and I find someone I really like, and then I look at who they're following, who's following them. I'm always trying to find who out there is doing something new and different. And there's so many young photographers coming up right now who are re-engaging with film, who are re-engaging with the medium as it's meant to be in an art form. It's not just about digital anymore, at least from the creating standpoint. Not necessarily what we're doing in our campaigns, but in what is considered their inspiration to put forth out there.
Okay, photographers who are looking, you heard it from them. So start following each other. Start getting it, everyone get into that same network.
I do have, it's not so much a question, but I will say I have told, artists that I work with, don't just follow people randomly if they are private. If you have worked with them, and you have a conversation on set and that leads to following each other. But it feels weird for me when someone randomly, I'm mostly private on Instagram. I go on and off on being private, public, depending, but don't weirdly DM or follow someone or request someone that you haven't met. That I do find LinkedIn to be a better place for that if you're trying to connect with them professionally.
Which leads into, of not being like a creep or weird, what are the biggest mistakes photographers make in trying to reach out to you? And what is your preference on how people reach out to you? For me, do not text me, or try, if you find my personal email, I'm like, that's a no for me. I'm like, nope, too far for me.
Yeah, I'd say email only, actually. DM's kind of, I don't know if I don't know them, but if I do know them, then they're going to email me or text me, but don't text me. But
Yeah, no
but
texting.
the number one mistake is not include. It happens a lot, not including an image in the email. That's like number one. Catch my eye.
And it shouldn't just be a link. It should be an actual image embedded in the image. A lot of companies, their their tech departments don't allow images from outside, so it needs to be embedded in the email.
Yeah.
Like I'm not clicking a link that to someone I don't know, or even opening like a PDF.
Any like other kind of common mistakes, like in the messaging on how they're like putting in the subject or in the body of their email, that you feel like Ugh, this isn't, or they're not paying, attention when
Mm,
reaching out?
well, for me, one of my pet peeves is misspelling my name because my whole life, no one, everyone forgets the E in my name. But if you've done your research, you know my name is Tracey. Like, address it that way. And also, like, don't act like you're familiar with me, like we're friends already. Like, I get these emails like I've known them, and then you stop and you're like, wait, I don't know this person. It's like it should be professional. It can be casual but professional at the same time.
Hanifa or JP?
I'll let you take that first, Nifa. I'm being on the client side is a whole different ballgame.
Okay. I think I might have a different approach, but I I love when people reach out. I try to respond to everyone unless it goes to spam or the LinkedIn message. LinkedIn, it takes me longer to respond. I'll be very transparent, but I do try to respond to everyone that reaches out to me. Um, I think I like it when people are personable. Do your research, get to know who I am, and see if we like really will align. I want to build community. I genuinely am in this place where I want to be building community with people and I want to build relationships, but it has to be like it has to be a relationship. It's not just like hire me tomorrow. I can't.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's not going
that
to work
makes
like
sense.
that. So, let's build a relationship, and we can try and work together, and ideally we will. That's how I think some of my most prosperous relationships with photographers have started with like a message or an email, and then they've led to like looking at portfolio, meeting up for coffee, continuing to like talk about the work, and then eventually like getting them hired and working with them. But it takes time, and know that like people, we are humans too. Like we also have like everything that's going on in everyone else's life. We have all that stuff going on too, because I think sometimes people assume that like, oh, you didn't respond to me or you ghosted me. And I promise you, like, there's like, everyone has like 300 emails unread. So
And JP
I'm
from
actually a
Pen.
zero inbox
Oh,
person.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying I'm actually a zero inbox person because I have like serious OCD when it
Same,
comes to emails.
same. Like people look at, like they'll be like, Karen, do you see all these folders? Everything goes into a folder because I don't want to see anything on my inbox. Like I'm
Same.
saying, same. JP, from your kind of your perspective of like from the agency side of how do you approach or you, I guess, when working for photographers or, when they're kind of now restarting the email of like what re-education do you
Well,
have to do?
I'm gonna say two things because I'm gonna be really vulnerable for a second.
Okay.
I am also in a place that all of you photographers are in often where I am reaching out on behalf of my creatives to get those meetings. And I get a lot of no's, I get a lot of ghosting, I get a lot of people not responding, and I have A/B tested certain methods. It's easy when I'm reaching out to someone I've known for a long time and I'm reconnecting with them with new work or with new, I'm someone who likes to bank a lot of information. If I meet you and I know you have kids, I know you have when your birthday is. I mean, that is just how, when I got my start in this industry, I made it a point to really try to get to know something about that person. So you can't do that for everyone and it doesn't work with everyone. But to Hanifa's point, like I always do my research and my homework when I'm reaching out to someone. I always have some sort of call to action. Um, if I'm reaching out to a brand that I really love the work they do, I might reference some of the work they've done. Maybe some of the artists on my rosters who might fit within their, current look and feel. If I'm thinking vertically about things, maybe where their brand is going. But I'm showing more than just, hey, I want to work with you. I'm
Oh,
showing the why we want to work with you. We think you do really great work is one thing, but when you can actually specifically say, God, I saw this campaign that came out and it really it's inspiring me to shoot like that or whatever it might be. When I'm asking just for coffees for people, there are times where they are a new cold contact for me. And when I reach out, it is kind of that a little bit of a humbleness. I will say I maybe use a little bit of self-deprecation. That's just my style, but I'll be very vulnerable and honest with people about why I want to meet. And I mean, that's how I met Karen. I jumped into Karen's, LinkedIn because I thought she was doing something really cool and I wanted to know her. So I think when you come from that perspective, like you just kind of have a little bit of a thick skin. Some people are going to say no. Some people are going to not respond, and you can continue to follow up, and maybe along the line somewhere they'll get the time. I try to believe that nothing is ever going just into the void, that that person might be busy, giving that person the benefit of the doubt. So that's on one side of things, of me having to do a lot of that personal outreach to clients, to get meetings, to make those inroads. When artists are reaching out to me to be on my roster, I really, again, do your research, understand what we have on our roster, maybe explain to me why you'd like to be on our roster, what you've heard, where you maybe fit in. I am looking for people who I don't. Apostrophe is really great in the sense that we're not just looking to jump on someone's career that is skyrocketing. We really like building people's careers. So we are going to look at you, even if you're like, hey, I'm coming into this and I'm brand new. Great. At that point, we're looking what we looked for in the beginning when we said we're looking for, what I call the 4 Ps. Like, is your portfolio good? What's your personality? What is your current production acumen? And what can we grow and teach you? How prolific are you as an artist? Are you continuously creating? All of those things. So I don't need you to have all these campaigns in your book, but I do need you to have a vision and a voice, and kindness goes a long way in the emails to me and in our conversations, because we're all just doing the best we can these days, right?
Right. Okay. I'm looking at the time, so I'm making sure we have enough time for questions. So we have like a few more, but I want to add this kind of extra one, so this can be really quick. For Hanifa, Tracy, and Anna, do agents matter for photographers? And for JP, how can agents help? But what can they do and not do? So who would like to jump
Don't worry,
in?
no one will hurt my feelings. I have thoughts on it too.
I have to. That's like the #1 question. And I answer in my book, honestly. So I just want to hear from different people, different perspectives.
I don't think necessarily that agents matter, especially if you're if you're already established photographer.
Mhm.
The last maybe 5 years, I've known a lot of photographers who just took their careers in their own hands and they started managing themselves, because they understood the business. So, if somebody wants to work with you, I think in this day and age, they'll reach out to you no matter what. Um, a community like us helps because you don't, we're not exclusive. You don't have to be, like a lot of the photographers in our community have reps, and sometimes a project comes in and they're the right fit, and sometimes we deal directly with the photographer says deal with my agent. So it goes both ways, but I think as a photographer, you should also know the business side of photography. Like, you can't put your hands and say, here, bring me work, because even if you have an agent, you still have to do the work. You still have to make the connections. You're the one who is building the relationship with the people who are hiring you.
Preach. Thank you. Amen. Thank you, Tracy. 100% agree on that. Anna, Hanifa?
I don't think it's necessary either. However, for commercial, yeah, I think it would help. I mean, I just always feel bad just because I've only done editorial that, they get a chunk. I know it's not a big chunk, but it's, and I just, anyway, it's not about the money, but like if I'm producing it, then, and they have an agent and I already reached out to the photographer and they reply and CC the agent, I'm like, oh no. But sorry, close your ears. I'm just kidding. But for a huge like commercial campaign, yes, they are a dream.
Yeah, I think it depends on the photographer. I feel like whatever they're comfortable with. I know photographers that self-manage and can manage like really big campaigns with a production partner. but I also know photographers whose agents come on set with us and we love them. And they're like a pleasure to have. So I think it just depends on the team and what they're interested in doing. I will say though, I think that it's always so helpful for people, especially as creatives. There's so many voices in our own head, and it's really nice to have people to balance things with. So, yeah, but it depends on what your preferences are.
And JP, for you, like I said, what can an agent do and not do? Because I feel like when photographers are like, I have to have an agent, I feel like they think it's like this miracle where they're going to be like showered with jobs 24/7. And so kind of just set expectations, like when working with agents. Like it can be a great thing, yes, obviously, but
Well, first of all, I
yeah.
agree with all of you. We don't do any editorial because
Mhm.
our photographers handle that on their own. And you're right. Like, I don't need to be taking, a commission on that. And I'm still happy to help them with it, but I'm not going to be a part of that negotiation. Um, I think reps can be incredibly helpful. And I think, I had a big stint where I was not, I was a rep and then I left being a rep for a long time and I was just consulting and running a marketing platform and then came back to being a rep. And I am very honest about this. It has to be a two-way street and it is a relationship. You want to go, when you interview your rep, they shouldn't just be interviewing you. You need to interview them. What is their game plan? What are their ideas for how to grow your work, get you in front of new people? And then it's your job to bring them new work. If you're not shooting for a client, you should be creating and shooting for yourself. I don't even like calling it testing. If you are truly wanting to be a photographer, you should be creating work all the time, or concepting ideas. And I know that's not easy in every single genre. I know, like, it's sometimes fighting with my lifestyle photographers to say, well, just go and find this, and because they want it to be perfect. But it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. Yes, I think it helps having a rep when bigger jobs come on. I am like an honorary lawyer at this point. I can't tell you how many contracts I have read through, especially now with all of the AI language. So that is something that we are a helpful barrier for. I read through contracts. I make sure to protect your best interest. I think that's probably one of the most important things to do. I am a sounding board for you when we're working through complex treatments or ideas on production. When I say, like, we produce on this side, the minute a job comes in and we're looking at that RFP together, we are game planning how we're going to produce this job, what you need for crew, what you're going to need for equipment, how we're going to talk about that and explain that to a client. So we can look at the budget and understand, hey, okay, this is going to work, this isn't going to work. So we're really a great sounding board. And then if you are a very busy photographer, we are out there constantly promoting your work. If I am not heads down producing a job, estimating a job, or working on a treatment, I am out there taking clients to lunch, going and being on set. I'm on set a lot more often these days, being there to support, our line producers and making sure that everyone's happy. We have happy clients. Um, so yeah, I think every rep brings something different to the table, and not all work how I do or how Apostrophe does. And you got to find your home. You got to find that partner.
All right, I'm going to end with this kind of last two-part question. And then after you're done answering, if you can leave kind of words of wisdom, and then we'll lead into the Q&A. Okay, so the last kind of two-part question is, what are the common deal breakers or red flags when hiring a photographer? And then on the flip side, after you've hired the photographer, what makes you keep wanting to work with them, or you're like, never again? Who would like to take that one first? And the same on the agency side, like if like after working with like that working, what would be kind of like after you get into this, or like on the agency side, like working with a photographer, like what are those red flags where you're like, ooh, we maybe shouldn't have got into this deal with them? And then what would cause kind of y'all to be like, we need to part ways on that side?
It's just personality based. I mean, all of that, whether you get along or not, or if if I'm contacting you, I love your work, right? So it's not about the work, but yeah, if it's not a chemistry with personality, that means and not just between us, that means I know what you're going to do on set, good or bad, right? Just the introduction first. Would you like my advice?
Yes, please.
Okay, I know it's expensive, but portfolio reviews. Like, I've always hired somebody from a portfolio review, and now they're, it's not all, well, since 2020, they're all online. So, and I know it's expensive, I'm really sorry, but that is, it goes with the personality thing too. Like, I'll hire you immediately if we click, and yeah, you got great work, but like, then I know how you're going to be with any subjects or the part of the shoot that I know of. Like, I know how you're going to match with. Does that make sense?
Thank you so much. Who would like to go next?
Oh, I agree with it's a lot of is personality, and sometimes you don't like. I've been on set where I've met the photographer in advance. They've come in, they presented their portfolio, the meeting went well. Then you get on set, and it was like a personality shift, and it's like, oh, this is not going to be, a long term. Like, this is a one and done kind of production, because you want to be on set. Like, we're not saving lives here. We're creating like really great content, and you want to have fun doing it, and you want to have great personalities on set. So if someone's being difficult, if they treat their assistants like not nice, I'm watching all of that, because if you're treating your crew like not in a nice way, that's someone I might not want to work with again. And then,
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, and I was going to say, for my advice, I would tell, I think photographers, like Jennifer said, like, you just got to keep shooting, shoot for your portfolio, but also shoot personal projects. I look at personal projects because it's something that's different than, it doesn't have to relate to any of your commercial work. It could be just what you're passionate about. And I've known photographers who've gotten hired off their personal projects because there was something unique and different in there. So I always like to look at the personal projects just to see what other kind of things excite them.
I'm going to date myself with this reference, but for the longest time when I was consulting, I would always tell people to look at Anna Williams, The Veracity. That project, she was a laid out artist, and beautiful warmth and light, and the veracity showed how she could expand that and take on harsh light and color. And I thought it was so cool. And I used that for a long time as an example. But I agree, when for me, when we're working with new photographers, there is a little bit of a dating period for us, because I want to see exactly that. I do not want to sign a contract with someone who the personality doesn't match the work. How you treat your crew says a lot about you, how you advocate for your crew. Something I also really look for in a photographer, and this is a really fine line, but someone who knows how to use their voice and stand up for themselves, because we can't just be yes people all the time, especially as I work with artists where we are fighting for budgets, we're fighting for not just diversity and inclusion, but equity. And you have to be able to stand up for yourself and know what you're worth and know what to turn down in order to be true to who you are. And don't be scared. That's my, I guess, my my piece of advice is, don't be scared to be who you are and stand up for what is right. You don't have to say yes to everyone just because you think this is going to be the job that's going to land you everything. Do not compromise your values or your integrity.
Love it. Hanifa?
I wholeheartedly agree with what everyone has said. I think especially what JP just said about integrity, I think it's so important. Also, I think, you might be in situations where you're on set and you're working with folks who haven't done the kind of work that you do, and you need to be able to show them and set like realistic expectations. If you just say yes to everything, then they're going to think that that is normal, and it might not be. So it's important to just have those boundaries. I'll also say, I think, I think it's just so essential to be clear about how you like to communicate. And, you know, at the beginning of a relationship with a client or with someone in your community, you can just say like, hey, this is how I like to communicate. This is my style. What's your style? Sometimes people, you just need to ask and you can have that conversation up front. And I know we're all coming from different places, different cultures, different backgrounds. We're not trained in the same ways, and that's okay. So let's just have that conversation up front. How do we communicate? How do you like to receive things? Would you like me to be building a case in X, Y, and Z way? How do you want me to show up on set? We can have those conversations. And the more we talk about that, the easier the production will be. So because we will know what to expect from one another, and also in friendship. If you want to be friends with somebody and you know, like, hey, like this person will get really annoyed if I don't respond to their text right away. Okay, cool. Now I know that. So I do see like our working relationships to be an extension of friendships, which is why I'm saying all this.
And any kind of final words of wisdom, advice for photographers?
I think this industry is so hard. And I know every day everyone is like, should I stay in this industry? And I will tell all of you what I tell myself, which is you love this. And this love is worth fighting for. So like that's my piece of advice right now.
I love it. Thank y'all. Okay, I think Tom is gonna head on here. He has an announcement, and then we're gonna go into Q&A.
Yes, well, thank you, panel. That was awesome. I was watching the comments on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, and people are loving it. Thank you so much for all your expertise and all your knowledge. I did want to, before we get into the Q&A, mention that tonight, this panel is being presented by Westcott, and they're giving away a 2-light backpack kit, $970, and we're going to draw that at the end here in about 25 minutes. But if you haven't entered, we want you to go enter. So we'll do this for about 15 seconds. It's the QR code. You can also just go to asmp80th.org, click on giveaways. You'll be able to enter. We're going to draw this at the end of today. We want you to win. We want to thank Westcott for their support of this panel and this industry. And so just go over to asmp80th.org and you will be able to enter to win those lights. So we will leave that up for another 3 seconds and then we'll get into some questions. Great. So some of the questions that came in, I think, are just building on what you're talking about with a few more specifics. And that's kind of where we'll start at the moment, which is, you know, here's one. I've heard a lot of talks where the speakers say they look at Instagram before they look at the photographer's website. Is that true for you all as well?
Sometimes.
Anna,
That's what we discuss with
Hanifa,
people.
yeah. No, go ahead.
I think sometimes that's where we discover people. And so naturally it's like we see that and then we go to their website, or it'll be vice versa. We'll see their website and then we'll go to their Instagram.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like I'm going there first. It's just wherever I happen to be looking. And but I look at both.
Yeah, I would say if I'm on your Instagram, I am wanting to be able to go right to your website. So I do like when people have like that little link tree, or so I can just be like, oh, okay, I'm seeing something I like. I do want to see how you present on what I feel is your storefront, if you will.
Yeah. And we all know that the most updated work will be on Instagram because nobody really updates. No one has time to update their website that much. But yeah, I always go to a website first, but then I click on their Instagram.
And it, you know, following up on Instagram, are you all searching hashtags on Instagram, or how are you getting to find people?
I'm not searching hashtags. If I'm searching for something specific, I'll go into the search and say I'm looking for a Miami photographer. I'll put Miami photographer. I'll see what comes up. I'll go to photographers I already know in Miami and I look at their pages and again go back to like maybe who's following them, who they're following. I've never really searched hashtags.
Yeah, they never seem to aggregate or work in the way that I'd like them to, and I'm finding a lot of work that's just not really part of our industry. I still use Sourcebooks for that sometimes. I have a lot of people who come to me and it's not right for my roster. And if it's location based, I might go somewhere like Found or At Edge or Workbook or whichever are out there now, and search by location. I mean, that's still something I'll do if someone says, "Hey, we need someone to shoot this in a small city in Illinois," and I'm going to go there first to see who's around.
Well, building on that, a lot of our questions here were based around getting in contact with you all, and I know you spent a lot of time on that in tonight's panel. But I think this question kind of starts right at the beginning, and it says, for photographers who primarily work directly with clients but want to start collaborating with agencies or creative directors, what's the best way to make that first introduction and stand out in a meaningful way? Anyone want to grab that one?
I'm a rep, so it's a
There you
different
go,
ballpark for me.
Jennifer. Anna,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pick people.
I just say LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like Hanifa, I read all emails as well. I mean, it might take 3 months, but I do. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the fastest.
For me, it's probably email, just an email introducing yourself. Like Jennifer said, do your research on who you're emailing. Because the community I work with, we are global. We have photographers in like every state plus, 80 countries. I need to know like where you're from, what you're looking to, if you're looking to connect with the community or just me personally, like what do you want to get out of it?
Can I chime
think
in?
Yeah.
Oh, go sorry.
Please.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think a lot of it's timing. When I reach out to creatives at agencies or at brands, a lot of it is timing. And if they have something that they're working on where I might be relevant, they might be more apt to respond more quickly.
Yeah, it's true.
So I think just, gosh, it sounds so simple, but you just have to lead with your heart in a way. And I think that's what comes across, that we throw around that word authenticity in our industry a lot these days. But when you can feel it, I can feel it come through emails when someone is really eager to talk to me, or even the clients I've reached out to who have welcomed me for meetings, they can tell that we're passionate about what we do. And I think finding that tone in your voice and in your emails will go a long way and jumps off the screen.
I want to add too that you should also be networking besides just emailing. Like there's so many different organizations like ASMP that have like events and different networking events that people like us are there. We go there, photographers go there, so you can connect with someone personally. I think that's like I always tell photographers, just network, network, network. Like if there's an event, go to it. You don't have to stay the whole night, but your goal is to meet people in person if possible. And then also portfolio reviews.
Karen, I know you were going to jump in on this.
I was just gonna say, just keep in mind, like kind of what Hanifa said, like a while back, like we're all human, and I personally would love to respond back to every single email, but there'll be days where I'm putting out fire drills, like, and it's like the most important thing in the world, even though it's not, but it's like the most important thing in the world to the person, and it's not that I'm like ignoring you intentionally, but just remember you kind of have to have that tough skin, and I always say, I always go and look at the website to first see, did you do your research and is it relevant to where I'm at and what I'm doing right now. And if I love you, I always say, if we love your work, we'll bookmark it. like somehow, whatever, how everyone has their different systems of how they, keep track or Rolodex, photographer, but I always say I will bookmark it because I'm like, okay, I know when the right project comes, I will reach out and be like, hey, let's do something together. So just, have patience, but just make sure, I think for me, it's a pet peeve of when I get something and it feels like a dear sir, ma'am kind of thing, and you did not do your research and you're like, say I work at Vogue, but yet you are a wedding photographer. So unless you're photographing the wedding of Taylor and Travis, you know what I mean, or something, right? You got to do that and make sure it's relevant to who you're emailing. And 100% on networking and putting a name to a face.
And you please, I want you guys all to correct me if I'm wrong here. I've always told artists, to put some sort of a call to action.
Yes.
If that's a meeting, great. Know that those are few and far between. These people are very busy. It could also be, how do you like to be kept in touch with? Is it okay if I continue to email you and share work from time to time? Just something like that, because to Hanifa's point, you're asking at that point, this might be my first introduction to you, and I'm asking how you like to be communicated with. You're saying, I don't want to spam your email box. What works for you if I want to keep you updated? And if your work is relevant to them and it's something they like, perhaps they'll email back. If it's not a fit at the time and they're busy, they might not. So that's the other reason you have to kind of be aware of who is your work relevant for. If it's an ad agency, they might have a lot of different clients that you could be a fit for. If it's a brand, are you really on brand, or what makes you think that you might be in the future?
Well, and I just wanted to pick up on something I heard you all mention a number of times, which are portfolio reviews, and thank you for. I think all of you probably have worked at some of the ASMP reviews. We have some coming up in Minnesota at our Minnesota chapter virtually with some incredible creatives up there, and those happen regularly throughout the year. So certainly, portfolio reviews are a great opportunity and something we care about a lot over at ASMP.
Can I
Yeah, sure.
chime on portfolio reviews? I always tell photographers is like, yes, it costs money, but always think of it as an investment and always do your research, understand who do you want to meet and who are there and what is it worth. If you see one and yeah, it might be cost a chunk of change, but it's 10 people you can possibly meet with that's like on your dream list, then I always say think of it as an investment just to get, an introduction, a name to a face and start the conversation. And again, with portfolio reviews, do your research. I always say, don't go into a portfolio review because I've just had horrible things where it's like, you want me to read your mind. It's like, understand what are you wanting to get out of each meeting and being polite and like, you know what I mean? And kind of and being prepared to lead the conversation. Obviously, you don't want to like choke hold it and like not give the reviewer any chance to do anything, but just be prepared to be able to guide it, and then it should flow into a natural, situation. But like I think everyone in Spinal can agree. Remember, you're starting a relationship. It's not give me a job tomorrow. Like don't give me a job today. You're just starting so we get a feel for your work, see what you can do, see how you are presenting and articulating yourself.
Well, switching gears a little bit, we got a number of questions that were a little bit about the nuts and bolts of commercial jobs. The first one I think is a sentiment we saw more than once. Why don't clients like to share budget information? It makes it extra challenging to give a quote within range. Anyone want to comment on that?
No, because I have we on my end, we have the same problem when you're trying to bid out a project and you give them the estimate of what it should be, and then they come back and say, well, no, this is not really what we're thinking.
Right.
And that's what I think it is. I think they want to see, at least I like to believe that they want to see, if we were to shoot for the stars, what is it that it would really take to pull this together? That way they're not giving us more money than we think we need, or it is a little bit of that game. So listen, I always go in and set the expectation. I'm going to put, if you're not able to give me a budget to work with, I'm going to put all the bells and whistles. And this is my first attempt at bringing your project to life. Do not let it be my last. This is a conversation and we can talk about the numbers. We can talk about what is actually fully needed. what were kind of, again, some of those bells and whistles that were exciting for us to have. I know that we like to really impress our clients when we can with really fun productions and thoughtful touches. Not every budget has that. So as long as you set the expectation and just get yourself used to estimating to a point where you can ballpark something and have a few different templates. I like to use Blink Bid. There are other I can't think of the word, but there are other things you can use aside from Blink Bid. But I like using that and have some templates going of what a lifestyle shoot is or what your still life is. So you can kind of quickly put something together to be able to ballpark that for a client and then just let them know it's a conversation. They can always come back to you.
I will say a good resource is a photoeditor.com. He has like a whole little like section on his website on real life estimates for different types of jobs to give you kind of, and then they explain this was like, this is what the final estimate came to. So just for people who are like always wondering, because I always, how I say it is, it just depends on the company. Some people have a quadrillion, like, you know, huge budget, and some don't. And so it's different for each for each company. But I like JP's approach of like, you know, if you're not getting a number, always think there's always room for negotiation. Think about when you are trying to negotiate something. Are you coming fully with like, here's all I got, like at the first shot? Mostly not. You're trying to see, hedge some, you know, bets and stuff. But I like the approach of like, do the bells and whistles, or how I kind of say to photographers, understand your numbers and understand what is that amount where you're breaking even. And then you could be like, here's one with all the bells and whistles. And then here's one where if, say, the budget comes back and you got to be scrappy, at least you know your numbers of like, I need to at least start here to be even with all my expenses and all that.
So one thing,
I would just add one thing.
oh, please go ahead. Yes.
I would just add that, you know, have the numbers of what you are comfortable with as it relates to usage. 2 years, unlimited, 5 years, digital, print, publicity, everything, like whatever it is, have those numbers that you are comfortable with. Because if you have those numbers to begin with, then you won't be resentful of any of the conversations that you're having because you know, like, this is what you're comfortable with. And if it's a job or a client that you know is going to just propel you, like, do what is comfortable for you. Like
we always say, like, you have to look at, it's kind of like that triangle. It's like, is it great creative? Is it great people? Is it a great budget? You know, sometimes it might not be a great budget, but the creative is so great and the people are so great. We're going to find a way to make it work. Another great resource is just the Artist Management Association. They have a great resource for different types of usages. That you can look up like what everything means and all of that. So you can, because sometimes I find myself being the one to educate, especially my brand clients, with what kind of usages they might need. So we can tailor down, you know, they might think they need everything. And then I show them this and they're like, oh, well, actually, we only need this, this, and this, and for this many years. And we're able to whittle down their budget by getting them to be a little bit more specific.
And this is another kind of plug for great when you join like photo organizations, because usually they will have resources for photographers to be like, here's like where you can start. Knowing that each situation is unique, but they give you like a starting place. And Tom, I just want to make note of time because I know Anna will need to leave right at time.
Same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's ask one, maybe two more questions. Can you please speak on the statistic that the majority of commercial and editorial jobs are given to cis men, and how, as a female identifying person, one can compete?
Great question.
So the way I kind of approach it is like every place I've gone, there's always preferences. Okay, like, you know, and depending where you sit on the ladder, most of the time I've been lower in the ladder. You can't really do anything about it because, you know, you might be. I know I personally worked with an art director somewhere, and all they wanted to work with was this. They had a list, and this is we were sticking to this list. Um, this is kind of a hard question, I think, for me to answer for being a person of color, because it's just, you have a lot of people who've been in it for a very long time, and there has been change, and kind of getting a little more progressive, but it's hard to change people who, and it's more, I think it's more of a comfort thing of, I've worked with these photographers for a long time and I can talk shorthand with them. I don't have to explain anything to them. I can be like, here's shoot. I don't got to talk. I don't think. And I know for me, that was, my challenge of like, when working for making sure I would work with new people and work with different types of people, because I'm like, okay, this is training me to be able to explain what I do to different people and not get so reliant on my comfort zone of this working with the same 5 people over and over again. And it is hard. It's not impossible, but that's why you should network and get in front of people and make those and start making those relationships so they have you. Basically, I always say with networking, it might be like, ugh, I hate it. It's think of it as just being top of mind for people who are hiring the same people. They're just always on top of mind because they're like, oh, this person's always, and they always, the name of the game is just always trying to be on top of mind. So when something new happens or a new project pops up, they're, oh, I want to try this person now.
And also it's this is another find your people type of thing. Like I know for a fact, like working with Hanifa has put people in bids and fights to put people in bids in that way. And you have to find your people who will fight to put women in your biz, to put non-binary, LGBT, AAPI, BIPOC people. Like we have to fight for that. That is something that all of us, and I think being, predominantly women on this panel, female identifying women or humans on this panel, that we can say like we are fighting for that. So just find your people. We'll never stop fighting for that diversity in our industry, that equity in our industry. It's why I know for me, it's why I'm still here. When I think about leaving the industry, I think about all of the people that we can continue help to get their vision out there.
I think because I work for an organization that supports female and non-binary creators, the founder and CEO started it with that mission because she was finding that people in her, that in her community, her advertising community, were hiring the same 5 or 6 men, to do all their ad campaigns. And she's like, and they would say they couldn't find female photographers. And she's like, you're not searching, And so she had this idea to bring together this community of photographers that now is expanded to include everyone in the photo production process, and to have to advocate to bring more income into this population. She's like, there's a lot of jobs that aren't like necessarily big ad jobs, but brands who hire things for like social media marketing, for other types of campaigns. It's sitting on the table like, let's go after these brands to put more money into the pockets of this population. And it's grown tremendously. So again, it's also community. It's finding, like Jennifer said, finding your people, finding your community.
Yeah, and another organization that is doing similar work, but a more like production forward, is See Her. And they have a lot of stats about what the industry looks like and all of that stuff. It's a really good resource for creatives too, and to partner with them. But the Loop obviously is doing really good work too. And if you don't follow the Loop on LinkedIn or social media, you should, because Tracy also puts on some really cool events.
Thank
Well,
you.
I think that is a great place to stop. I know we have some time issues. I just want to say thank you to everyone here. That was incredibly informative and a wonderful panel. And thank you to Westcott, our presenting sponsor tonight. We said we would draw the winner, and we just did. So Kate I. From Kate Creative, congratulations! You just won the Westcott FJ 200 2-light backpack set, $970. Very happy to have everyone here today. Thank you for bearing with us through the technical difficulties, and everyone's going to receive a recording tonight before the night ends. Karen, I'll pass it back to you for any final words. And again, thank you all so much from all of us at ASMP.
Thank you all for being here. I hope this has been helpful, and thank you to this amazing, wiseful, insightful panelists. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
That was awesome.
Bye now.
Bye.